Yeah. I think today I wanted to explore a bit more since you have a reflective side, which I also really enjoy. I've always made reflective videos throughout my life. I stopped doing them a bit after Starling Cast came along because I end up reflecting here. Right. So, I want to do some of these reflections that are sometimes deeper than just asking analog or digital. This is a topic that it's obvious I have to address here because you're a guy who has a perspective that goes against the grain, right, of what people have been saying. But I wanted to go deeper, okay? And I also asked him if I can disagree with you. You said it depends. It depends on the disagreement. No, I said you can disagree. It's all good. So, actually, I'm going to, I don't know if I'm going to disagree on anything or not, but it's more to keep the conversation going. Okay, not just stay here. Okay, right.
And it's cool because I go around saying a lot of things. And for someone who comes into the topic and hears me talking about that stuff, there's a huge context behind it. And then I have to study why the person has this doubt, why they ask these things again. So for example, we were talking about a recording process, and then people comment. But the important thing is the music. If not, man, wait a minute. The music. Then I said, the one who makes the music is the musician, the composer. I'm the audio engineer, the producer. So you're going to bring the music to me, so I have nothing to do with your music. Then the person says, oh, you have nothing to do with the music then. Terrible producer. Oh my God.
No, I understand what you're saying. So let's go. Let's organize here. So we'll get into the points. This is a point that's here too. But just so I can try to follow the agenda. Man, let's go. Let's talk about music as a profession, which is something I think is very deep, because music, she is not a profession like any other profession. There are several professions that you can put in the package. This one is just another profession with equal rights, equal duties. It's within that sphere where it's easy to predict how the market should behave and everything else. Yes. Music is a bit different from that. So you have in quotes, right, man? Musician. Music is not work, right? Your words. They're all slackers anyway. That's right. For whom is it, man? For whom is music a professional path at the Lisciel, man?
Why did I say that? Because I see that when musicians, older, more experienced ones, talk about music, the market, for you to have interactions, for you to do that, with the new people, then you go into engineering, medicine, or music. Got it. Then it won't work, Yeah.
But why won't it work?
Because if you study engineering, I tell you, take the exam, get into college, you'll spend, in my time, I don't know, 60,000 for the entire course. In the middle of the course, you get a mandatory internship. You're learning things. And sometimes this internship is paid, sometimes not. When you graduate, the company is required to pay you a minimum salary of 5.5 man. And if they hire you as let's say a laborer, that's against the law because you have a degree in engineering. And you have the CRE, right? It's the engineer's license. A company can't hire you in any other way, Well, I'm saying this because it's from my time, right? Because companies always find a way, right? So you start as a trainee engineer. Then after 2 years, you become a junior engineer and so on. Senior engineer, Mo. And then you're earning 15,000 Ries, right? You get it. Then you calculate it. This is likely to happen. The probability is very high, man. If you attend a serious college, study a lot, and get to know everyone, like there's a guy there. Hey, right, this interaction will secure you a job in the future. In music, there's none of that,
But are there other jobs lacking it too?
There are many. I'm a musician, like a painter. No.
Sometimes, man. For example, there are many people driving Uber who are actually engineers, like petroleum and gas engineers, for instance. It's an area that went into crisis, and for 10 years, no one was being employed.
Of course.
So, there might be...
But then you have a problem along the way, right? If there wasn't a problem, music isn't a profession, The Uber engineer guy is probably an engineer that the company can let go because there are many engineers there that if the company lets them go, it will incur a loss. Because so sometimes it's not the guy's fault, sometimes it is, right? In the professional who arrived, he clocked in, sat there. You know, I worked in an office. There were many people who loved to arrive in the morning, did nothing, and after 6 started working. And they would leave at 9:30 at night and so on. The guy would make a lot of overtime money off the company. Then the company cut it. It was the same for everyone. And the lazy smile says, man, look, you have to fire, goes to the guy, you have to fire 3 people by Friday. Got it. Just like in the oil crisis, it was 5,000 people per week. Who are you going to fire? You're going to fire the talkative smile, right? The Chinafoot smile, or sometimes the one who earns more and does little. Then that guy leaves. Got it.
Okay, but what you're trying to say is that music is a profession that doesn't have many guarantees and that people should pursue it out of vocation. Is that it?
Yeah, I'm saying it doesn't work in music like it does in engineering, for example. Got it. It definitely doesn't work. You're not going to do a music degree. You have to do an internship. I don't know if that's a thing. I believe not. And you're not going to graduate as a trainee musician where someone is obliged to pay you that base salary. That doesn't exist. There's no such thing as sending a resume to a studio and getting a job working inside the studio, because no one is going to want to put a random person inside the studio where someone's life is happening. That's what I'm trying to say. But what I'm talking about is not about record labels, cinema, or many people who did tech, aviation, I don't know what, go to work in theater, go to work on conditioning in large places. It's something else. I'm talking here. I play guitar, I play drums, I have a studio, I'm going to record people, which is what everyone, it's the same thing as the guy. I studied engineering and work in engineering there, I do some engineering projects, so you can't compare the two.
I understand. So actually, it's more rhetorical, like your argument here that musicians are lazy. No, honestly, do you think being a musician isn't work, that they're all lazy?
I have to say something like, man, musicians really are lazy. They set a time, they don't show up on time, they don't bother to study at home. They claim to be demanding, but you see their guitar all warped with old strings. This, in a general view, you can't generalize. I can't generalize. By saying that every musician is super well behaved, arrives at the studio, sets up their gear, stays still there, and starts playing until they finish. Just like I made a video criticizing this, but generally, it's already common for musicians to have a terrible resume, a terrible history. Everyone. You schedule with musicians and the guy shows up 2 hours later. If he's famous, then he'll arrive at the studio whenever he wants, That's why we put this label on them. If I were to compare it to a job where you have to arrive on time, leave on time, and do what you need to do for the day, the musician would fail miserably,
I understand. So actually, you're making this statement if you compare it to what is considered a traditional job and the traditional behavior expected from a profession.
Yes, and another very important thing as well. The more of an artist someone is, the less of an entrepreneur they are. These are two extremes. So everyone I know who is a super artist has someone taking care of them. I'm not talking about the Rolling Stones, no. I'm talking about a friend of mine, Jordy. He plays at night, plays at parties, Caron and his friend. And man, his house was always a mess, his life too. It was chaos, he was a big fool.
Is he alive? Yes.
Then when he got married, he had a kid, and his wife's woman, Raquel, who took over everything for him there.
Didn't understand wife's woman.
His was a wife? Raquel?
His woman, right?
The wife's woman? So, Raquel, what did she do? She's the one who intercepts the work requests for him.
Got it.
Man, the guy did really well. He did really well at work because someone was managing it for him. So, we artists need someone to manage to help you do this, Even if it means charging the guy for... Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Because the artist is there, man. It's the artist's mind. Many artists I'm talking about. Yeah, they keep dreaming, creating. I wake up in the morning, for example, and I want to create. I want to work in the lab. I want to record. I want to do a lot of things. But I have to answer emails. make budgets, order parts, see what the studio needs. That destroys the artist, you know. That's why it's extremely important. If someone finds themselves in this situation, for example, man, I can't manage my money. How I earn my money by playing, I don't know anything. It's because the person needs someone, just like I have someone who works with me, two people who answer the phone, receive messages, negotiate, receive the money, and send it to me. So I stay in the studio, the band comes in, I don't even know who they are. I don't know where they came from. I just know it's paid. If they're in my studio, it's paid. Then we record them, have a lot of fun, and that's it. They leave because I'm more focused on the art part there. I don't know how to manage money, you know? I'm really bad at doing business and everything. And now in the lab, for example, we're going to have a special person for that to be able to handle the lab's money and say, look, let's do this because we're planning a fair in 6 months. And, you know, I have no ability to do that, to plan anything, because my mind is completely on art, you know.
So, but like in my house, my wife is the one who does that. I'm the artist in my house, but I'm also not a guy who's a complacent artist, okay? Let's go. I'm going to record my album now, next year. My wife, I'm doing the part that I'm doing, but I made a project and my wife is going after fundraising with the sponsors. My wife, for example, she handles all the financial aspects here of the podcast, the school, and everything else. But also because, man, it's what you said. It's impossible for one person to take care of all this alone. She starts alone and gets overwhelmed by the demands. Everything becomes chaotic. And then you need to have the ability to rely on the help of people who have expertise different from yours.
A good example is what happens with a musician's account, right? It's always messed up because the guy can't manage it, buys what he can't afford. Oh, I'll pay later. I'm going to do a show there. I'll buy something. And there's no one who says, man, I know, don't buy that, you know. Don't buy it. Just wait for that show to close to see if you'll get paid less, you know, so you can. So that's it. The artist doesn't have it. He leaves. I'm really leaving, man. I buy a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
You get it? So that's it. Oh, I can do both at the same time? Of course you can. But it's really hard, man. Generalizing, right? In general, the artists can't manage their own money.
Yeah, but you're an entrepreneur, you know. You're an entrepreneur. You have a business. Your studio is a business.
Things kind of happen by force there.
But you divided tasks. It's like a company. You have to divide tasks.
Yeah, oh, that's why I suffer a lot, right?
It's a pain. But if you couldn't divide those tasks, you'd be much worse off nowadays.
Yeah, but one of these I do poorly, right? There's no way to do both well, which in my case is management. I have 60,000 reais on a credit card to pay by the 17th and probably 2,000 reais in my account.
Isn't there anyone to handle that part for you? Yet,
There's no one to do it.
doesn't your wife help with that?
My wife is going to... No, there's nothing to be done. Because months ago, I was taking money from the equipment and putting it into the studio, buying everything I could buy. I bought everything I couldn't buy, I would buy. So today I need to pay for things, right? So there's a violent cash flow every month. The solution to this would be to sell the things I bought him for the studio, which I shouldn't have bought, and recover this business. But I don't want to, you know, I don't want to. I'd rather max out the credit card, but I won't sell a reel-to-reel recorder, you know. But I had to sell it. And it's really bad to sell the stuff, man. Then I feel sick, man, from selling the recorder. And when you sell it and the guy still complains, then I get even more desperate because I have a lot of passion for the stuff.
The guy didn't appreciate it.
So if there's someone to manage this, we'll have to sell a recorder. Sell it for a good price because you fixed it, you use it in your studio, so it has to be sold for a good price, for example. Then the guy goes there, takes pictures, advertises, and then the money just starts coming into the account, everything normalizing, because I don't care about the account, you know. That's my danger. I develop equipment, I do a lot of things, but I don't know how to manage money. So ideally, someone should manage it for me.
So we can put here, instead of just being a lazy musician, we can put here lazy and responsible musician.
Crazy. No, but the musician's responsibility is in the music, right? We joke that you get into music for love and you stay because of your responsibility, right? You get in, love a guitar, you pick it up, and now what? Now I'm going to study every day. Even if it's just putting on a song and playing along, you know, you're studying there, you're working, you know. But I say, man, you can't compare, right? You're staying at home playing, guitar with someone who's taking a crowded train from Monday to Friday. So it's unfair for me to tell this mass of people that we also work, you know.
But don't you think you're working a lot?
Of course. But it's unfair for me to tell the guy who takes the train every morning at 7, you know. But I also work, you know. I think we're saying that we work to the new kids, to our parents, to other adults who already have, you know, who look down on our work, for example. Then we have to say we work too, man. It's very hard and all. You know, you study for many years. There's no guarantee you have your basic engineer salary, $5,000, junior engineer, you know. I have nothing, you know, it's like that. So I have to do a lot of things every day. It's a job. I run around working and it ends at 9, 10 at night there, exhausted. But I have to direct what I'm saying to the right people there. I too who will never approach someone like my brother-in-law, for example, who works a lot and is overwhelmed with work. His salary he uses to travel to do something to clear his mind from work. Not us. We live within our work. It's the opposite. I can't travel, and I can't because I want to work, you know. That's why I'm telling you, right, to whom you say that music is also work, you know. Do you understand? There's a lot of irony and a lot of joking in what I say there. To open up this range of interpretation, right?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying too, man. But if you look historically, let's say in biblical times, there was a guy whose profession was to be a scribe. He translated a text and copied it faithfully there. He had a job that was bureaucratic, intellectual, and didn't require him to leave home to work. But it was a profession. So historically, there have always been professions that didn't require a person to leave home and have that commute.
It will change later, right? Music, for example, from what we see in books, in movies about great composers from the past, or classics, right? Those guys really worked with music. They wrote a piece of music and sold it. Painters, too. For that particular painting, the guy would paint it. This still exists today, right? But I think there's no comparison to the old times.
But you know what happens, man? This way that we...
That movie... Sorry, but that movie about the pearl earring, you know?
Yes.
This Johansson guy who did the... So in that movie, you get a bit of an understanding of the artist's life, right?
It's because as we were born, observing what it was like to live off music, it's something recent with popular music. Until then, in classical music, either you were sponsored by the church or by royalty, or some guy from the bourgeoisie paid for you to be a musician because you didn't go out to play in bars, right? That didn't exist. This is something that started to exist in the last century, around 1930, when popular musicians began, and we call it, man, the generation of bands. The first to pull out a band we know in this community format was Buddy Holly's man and the Crickets. It was the first band where people realized, man, we have a fee as a band now. And that's where the Rolling Stones got their inspiration from. So in fact, we are already based on a modern concept of what it is to make a living from music, which is to have a band, man. And it's really crazy. The guy has a band and goes out to play, plays 3 days a week, sleeps poorly, and it's something completely outside the entire reality of human history, man.
Yeah. And man, if the guy plays 3 days a week, it's really great for the band, you know?
Yeah, but I'm saying that the other day, what was it again? Oh, the guy was finding it absurd that Gustavo Guerra said he doesn't do workshops anymore because it's not worth it. And for him to do a workshop for 1,000 reais, for 1,500 reais. The guy said, you're complaining about earning 1,500 reais for an hour and a half workshop. But the guy doesn't understand that he's not earning 1/500 rees to be teleported from his house and sit his butt in the workshop chair there, teleported back home in an hour and a half. Man, you're earning 1,500 rees to leave home on Thursday, do the workshop at night in another city, and return home on Friday. That's what the musician is earning for, not for the event itself of an hour and a half or 2 hours. But people also have difficulty understanding this.
Yes, I think that, it needs to be explained like 2 million times. Every time I mention something, he says, oh, here we go with this topic again. People comment on it too, right? I say, man, you've seen me talking about this topic, but there are many people who come to the channel, who get to know me, who start following me, who don't know about the topic, so you have to explain it all the time, right? It's not a problem either, no? It's like a teacher. He goes into the classroom and explains the same thing his whole life, every day of the year, right? Because new students are always arriving. It's the same as someone attending last year's class. Man, you're going to explain it again. You jerk. Get out of here, man. You're in this situation, man.